Okay, so let's get started. Thank you for joining us for our Smart Medical Solutions Made in Saxony online event. Today's session is hosted by Invest Region Leipzig and the Saxony Economic Development Corporation. This virtual event is the first in a three-part series of informative presentations to discuss the state of play in Saxony's digital health sector. The session is set to last around 75 minutes and will give you the opportunity to ask any questions you may have after each presentation. Please use the chat function to submit questions and we'll get round to them at the end of each presentation. Recordings of today's session will be sent to all attendees after the event along with the presentation slides. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Barbara Weigert from the Saxony Economic Development Corporation, who will begin with her presentation discussing Saxony's life science cluster. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. And good morning, everyone. Now I will share my presentation with you. So here we are. Yes, hello everyone and welcome to our seminar on smart medical devices made in Saxony. Speaking of Saxony, first of all, I would like to show where we are located. On this map, you see Saxony has border with Poland and Czech Republic, and you see it located in the eastern part of Germany. And yes, we are right in the heart of Europe. We have around 4.07 million people living in Saxony, and what is very typical about Germany, we have a share of small and mid-sized companies of over 93%. Our largest cities are Leipzig and Dresden. Dresden as the state capital of Saxony with over 550,000 inhabitants here. Let's check out Saxony's infrastructure. Leipzig has the DHL hub, which is the headquarter of DHL in Europe. And it's Europe's most modern air cargo hub with a 24/7 service. Therefore, a lot of other logistics companies settled in and around Leipzig, also in the field of medical logistics. And to give you an idea about the distances, Dresden to Prague, for example, is reachable in 1 hour and 40 minutes. Dresden to Berlin in 2 hours and 40 minutes. And when you want to go from Leipzig to Berlin, you take the train in 1 hour. And Leipzig and Dresden are also just 1 hour away from each other by train. The research infrastructure in Saxony is also very well prepared. Let's say we have 6 universities. We have all in the 6 universities bachelor's and master's programs in life sciences. And what is also very important, we have also non-university research institutions like, for example, the Fraunhofer facilities, which are definitely also known in UK. When you see Dresden, we even have 13 Fraunhofer institutions in the city. Let's take a closer look to the healthcare market in Germany overall. So Germany is Europe's largest healthcare market. That means that we have an annual health spending of 374 billion euros, which is 11.3% of Germany's GDP. And if you count all the surrounding European countries around Germany, you will even find a much more attractive and potential market of more than 1,500 billion euros. Let's zoom back into Saxony. We have 300 plus dedicated biotechs, pharmas and medtech companies. We have active clusters around Leipzig and Dresden. And we have 30 plus research institutions in the fields of regenerative medicine, diagnostics, up to bioinformatics. What is really important and attractive here in Saxony and gives advantage to the companies who want to come here is that we have a very active network called BioSaxony with 100+ members. BioSaxony is a lobby partner to our companies and holds the research and the companies together. Later on, we will also have or hear a speech, a presentation from the CEO of BioSaxony. Companies who come to Saxony will find a very nice infrastructure here. We have life science incubators. In these incubators, there is a share of 1/4 university, 3/4 companies. Companies find labs and offices over there, and they benefit from the close relationship to the institutes, to the research institutes, as well as to the academic clinics. We already have some UK investments here in Saxony, in total 22, with more than 3,100 jobs created in this sector. And in the field of medical and pharmaceutical, we have companies like GSK producing their influenza vaccine here in Dresden. We have Smith Medical or Steris, which is a company in electron beam and gamma sterilization. The site director of GSK once made a statement for us, and there are two important aspects I would like to mention here. She said, motivated and passionate people are available here, which is important for them. And the other thing is, they did a lot of investments in the last years to now have a very modern infrastructure. And these investments were supported by investment grants of the state of Saxony. Another investment was done 2018 in Leipzig from GeneWitz, which is a US investment and now a Brooks Life Science company. GeneWitz installed their European headquarters in Leipzig. They are a leader in genomic services. And they said, because we have critical samples, we have to bring them in and out of Europe into the world. For us, it was very important to benefit from the DHL hub in Leipzig. And finally, I would like to show you a short overview of the Saxon incentives, what we can offer. First of all, we can offer incentives for investment grants. So companies do their setup here in Saxony, investing and getting support for this. Then the companies are active, for example, in R&D projects. They are doing tech transfer. They are hiring very innovative experts. We can also support these activities. And also foreign trade support programs are available, for example, when you participate in international trade shows or when you do a market launch of innovative products. If you want details for all these incentives programs, you can later ask us in the Q&A session, or you can directly approach us. Now I will pass over to my colleague Axel from the Invest in Leipzig, so that he presents more on the Leipzig region for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, and welcome everyone to this today's webinar about Saxony and the Leipzig region in particular. I will just like to kick off with some basic facts about what Leipzig is and what's cool about Leipzig, because I just assume not everyone taking part in today's webinar is all too familiar with who we are, where we are, and what it is, what that makes Leipzig an attractive location. Just to give you some background facts, so Barbara mentioned already, It is today the hidden champion of global supply chains just because DHL runs its European hub from Leipzig. Actually, it is the third largest cargo airport in Europe these days, just trailing Frankfurt and London Heathrow. But what's the most interesting part about Leipzig? It is actually a success story for economic regeneration, not unlike what you see in the north of England, especially in Manchester or Liverpool for that matter. Leipzig saw decades of decline after World War II, and especially during the communist rule in the east of Germany, but has since then had a major rebound. The city is, well, let's say the very heart of a metropolitan area with more than 8.4 million people living there. The city as such does have 600,000 people living in it. It is expected to grow by another 50,000 over the next 10 years or so, which would make, or already makes Leipzig Germany's fastest growing city, and also Germany's youngest. Most of the influx is actually from people under the age of 30, which clearly has some advantages and also is a particular challenge because most cities do tend to get older, whereas Leipzig does get younger indeed. As you may infer from that is Leipzig is a very dynamic city in terms of the economy. It actually is the second most dynamic economy in Germany in terms of economic as well as employment growth. Speaking of younger people, it is a center of higher education, and therefore we do have a very strong talent pipeline in all innovation sectors. Speaking of which, our economy is more or less now based on all innovation industries, be it digital and tech, the mobility sector, the energy sector, and of course, the life sciences. Why is that? So pretty much 20 years ago, the state of Saxony decided to start a biotech life sciences offensive. And what we see is it has yielded proper results. If you just look into the sector strength in Leipzig, you can clearly see that healthcare and the life sciences sector is the strongest, followed by logistics and e-commerce, and the ICT, digital and tech sector, which is Leipzig's fastest growing sector. In terms of life sciences, what was created is a proper life sciences ecosystem. We like to say that Leipzig today has one of the most dynamic and also integrated life sciences ecosystems. Just to give you some areas of focus here, in terms of biomedical research institutions, it is very much focusing on surgery. And I would like to highlight the Innovation Center for Computer-Assisted Surgery, which is really cutting-edge technology when it comes to automation in the operating theater. Also, one of the major areas of focus here is all things civilizational diseases. So we do have quite a few institutions focusing and researching on all things psychosocial medicine, if you will. Diagnostics plays a large part in the Leipzig life sciences sector. As you can see, lots of university faculties, but also the Helmholtz Institute working hard on all things diagnostics. As smart medical devices and e-health and health tech are the particular area of interest today, I would like to highlight two things. First, the Big Data Competence Center called the SCATS AI. It is still a University of Leipzig department, but is destined to become Germany's center of excellence for all things AI. And they're especially focusing on all things AI analytics in medical imagery, as well as side projects and big data analytics for diagnostic use. The other thing I'd like to highlight, and we will probably hear a bit more about that later, is the Smart Infrastructure Hub Leipzig SpinLab Accelerator, which also focuses on e-health solutions and health tech businesses. Just as a side, Leipzig was awarded the title of being Germany's Smart City Champion, just based on that very strength. But you will probably hear more from Benedikt later. Of course, we do have institutions and partners that support businesses from all walks of the life sciences sector with setting up and conducting clinical trials. So you will find all the partners here that you may need for your endeavors. What I'd like to show you as well is our so-called BioCity campus. So what is it? It is the old trade fair ground, pretty much bang on in the middle of Leipzig, which was converted into a specific life sciences park, if you will. What you see is the Faculty of Medicine is located there, but also the incubator and accelerator units that have been created since 2003. It is, you know, an area of more than 500,000 square meters where all kinds of life sciences and medtech companies find their place, and you will probably hear a bit more later about that. You will also find the necessary pathway and cluster management organizations on location to help you build a successful business. Speaking of successful businesses, I just want to talk about a few of our major success stories. There are quite a few smart medical devices, startups and scale-ups, you have to say, and some of them will present just right after me. Lots of them focusing on all things AI and big data analytics, but also at the intersection of medical devices and analytics, we do have a, you know, somewhat remarkable sector strength when it comes to female medicine. So you can read all that stuff up or ask questions or check these companies after our webinar. Most of these logos have links as well. So that is pretty much my little introduction to Leipzig, but please feel free to ask any more questions during this session or afterwards. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, Axel, thank you. I think as far as I can see, there are no questions so far. So I would like to go on in our program, and I would like to introduce André Hofmann to you. He is the CEO of Saxony, and he will talk about his accelerator program. Please, André.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction, Barbara, and also to Axel. Let me share my screen first, and then I will give you the overview. So maybe just some words about Saxony itself. It's, as Barbara said, the Life Science Association here in Saxony with at the moment 125 companies and institutes that are the members of the association. We focus on both biotech and the medtech business. As you heard, there are participants from both worlds, so from the economy as well as from the research area. And our job basically is economic development. So we are supporting those entities that are members of our cluster and our network in every possible way, as long as it's legal, maybe even beyond that, but just send me a personal message after that, just to support their development in economic terms. We have a 10-year history by now. So we have quite some gathered some knowledge about how to support our partners here, and during that path we learned a few things that in the end do into the programs and the platforms that we build up here for the startups. One of them I will present in a minute the Medical Forge, which is our accelerator program for the smart medical devices. But just to add a few words about the BioCity that Axel has just mentioned, this is the we have dedicated incubator building for life sciences in Leipzig. We do also run this building, so we are here to support our members in every possible way. So from the organization of 5 milliliter horse blood for a test, or even for financing, we are there to help our tenants with. And as I said, we also try to build up several other platforms here all around the value chain, and all around the also supporting the supply chain for these companies. So coming back to the Medical Forge, as I said, it's an accelerator program that we have started a couple of years ago. At the moment, we have a pilot run going on, focusing exclusively on cardiology. So some of the speakers after my talk are part of this program. I won't go into this very deeply. Basically, I'm here to promote the new accelerator that will start in probably March next year. Due to COVID, we have a slight delay. So what is it all about? First of all, I have to say that we focus on technical aspects, not so much on financing or company building. There are other platforms around. We just talked about the Spin Lab in Leipzig, which is one of those platforms that have a strict focus on that area. We are more on the technical side, so we care about technical development, process implementation in the clinics, regulatory affairs, and especially also reimbursement in the German healthcare market. We can also support you when entering other European healthcare markets through our partners, but our main task is the German one. You may know that this is kind of attractive due to the reimbursement systems that we have in place here, as long as you can enter the normal reimbursement processes through the healthcare providers and the health insurances. There's a very attractive system in place to, in the end, make money for the companies. So we come up with the knowledge for that, and also with the know-how for the regulatory affairs that are required to enter the European market. So the medical device regulation will be coming up next year in May. So we have experts for that in place to support you with the application for these processes. And also, if necessary, with the drug part, so not the medical device regulation, but the what we call AMG, we can support you with that as well. The main focus for us is the implementation of these new technologies and products and services in the clinic. So we collaborate very intensively with local clinics. For instance, Helios, a big hospital chain in Germany with, I think, 80 clinics in Germany, 200 medical care centers, some other clinics in Spain, in South America, and elsewhere. So this is the network we can provide you the access to this platform. And I think the most important part for attending startups, the program is 100% free. So we don't charge you, we don't take shares in your company, we don't take shares in the IP. We just want to see new products in early stages, and we want to initiate collaboration with our partners here. So what do we offer? Since we're trying to attract foreign companies to the region for this 12-month program, could also be 12 years if you want to. We provide office space for you to use. We provide lab space and workshop space equipped with different kind of hardware equipment or the wet lab equipment We will have 3D printers in place. We are still negotiating with partners for setting up a 5G campus network so that healthcare solutions that will work on a 5G basis can easily be developed and tested here. Since we're talking to companies from abroad, we also offer a small grant for clinical cooperation projects, but also for travel expenses. So we kind of expect you to be here at least part-time of the program physically so that we can initiate the collaboration with our local partners. And on the soft side, of course, there's coaching and mentoring included in the program. We have a set of seminars and workshops that you can attend. I will come back to that later. We have several networking events ongoing through the year. Nowadays, it's a little bit difficult since all is virtual, but we hope and expect that by autumn or winter, we will go back to physical meetings so that you can connect to our local biotech economy and medtech economy as well. Just to give you an overview to our program itself. So once a startup is chosen to be part of the accelerator program, we will set up a customized curriculum for each startup, supporting them in different topics that are already mentioned, so regulatory affairs, health economics, and business elements if needed. So out of these modules, we basically set up the customized curriculum. And additional to that, we will add mentors to your program that have the experience in those topics where you need assistance, and they will support and guide you through the program. Axel already mentioned how big and beautiful and fascinating Leipzig is. I just can agree to that and add to that, since I have moved to Leipzig 3 years ago and I haven't regretted a single day yet. It's indeed a very nice place to be. It's a very interesting economic setup that we're working in. We already heard about the logistics, and we heard about the BioCity campus that is continuously growing at the moment. So within the next years, there's a lot of projects going on site to extend the BioCity. And by the way, in the right bottom corner, this picture, this is a little inside of the BioCity itself. So we do offer 20,000 square meters, whatever that is in feet, for economic partners to rent, so it's lab space and office space there as well. And within the BioCity, we will also set up the accelerator program I'm talking about. I've already mentioned some of our partners, so Helios is a very important one, but there's also smaller clinics that we collaborate with, like St. Georg, which is a city-owned hospital, almost the size of a university clinic, but not a university clinic itself. We are also talking to the University Clinic of Leipzig to become a partner. They haven't signed yet, so this is why they're not listed here. B. Braun is one of the biggest German Medtec companies that we work with. Acker Technologies has just joined the consortium. It's a French enterprise focusing on IT technologies. There's other partners. Luther is a law firm. But I would also like to point out some specialists here. ESCOWEST, among the supporters, is a platform for crowdfunding for medtech and life science projects. So they have a large background and network in that field. So they more or less exclusively collaborate with medical professionals that will invest into the companies, and to also support you with information with their own network to help you grow your company. And also in the upper half, there's SLG, which is a notified body who is capable of supporting you in terms of regulatory affairs through the medical device regulation, for instance. And in the lower left corner, Barmer, this is one of the health insurance companies that we work with. So they have the know-how for the reimbursement system in Germany. So what are we looking for? In the end, we want to start this program with 6 to 8 SMEs. And this is an important thing. We are looking for SMEs, so no groups straight from the university, but companies that have already some years history, so to say, and know how to run a company, because we don't do company building, we focus on the technical aspects, as I said. We also want to see a certain proof of concept for those devices you develop. So not straight PowerPoint presentation about ideas, but already some results from research programs and similar things. And of course, since we don't charge you, somebody has to pay for the program, and this is our partners, and this also means that in the end they will decide who will be participating in the program and who won't. So we, as BioSaxony, we are not the ones to choose from those applicants, but the partners will decide who could be interesting for them to collaborate with, which also means some of them said that very clearly. They are looking for future investments, for collaboration and partners to add new products and services to their portfolio. So keep that in mind. This is also something that is possible through the Medical Forge to initiate collaboration in these terms, for instance, with Helios or Brown, for instance. Yeah, what else is there to say? Just a short view on the timeline that we were planning with. Originally, we thought we could start on the 1st of January next year. Due to Corona, we have a slight delay in the scouting, which is ongoing at the moment. By the end of July, we will send out an open application to all those startups we found and all those we haven't found yet, but that found us. So you're welcome to apply for the program. By the end of the year, we will have the selection board meeting, where we basically narrow the field of applicants down to, let's say, 50 most promising startups that will be invited to the selection day for virtual pitch among the partners. And in the end of this day, those 6 to 8 participants will be chosen that can join in March next year with the first run of the accelerator. Yeah, basically this brings me to the end of the talk. And if there are any questions, please feel free to ask them now or send me an email or whatever you prefer. I'll be here until the end of the session, and through email you can reach me anytime, 24/7, if needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andre, for your presentation. As always, I enjoyed it very much. Okay, let's see if we have questions from the audience. Looks like not really, so probably you gave the full overview. Oh, here's something maybe? What is cost of space in your hub? Steve Hunt is asking this question.
Cost of space depends a little on what kind of space you will need. So is it lab space? Is it office space? I think the office space is around 6 to 8 euro a square meter. Lab space depends a little on if it's just pure lab space, if it's outfitted lab space. So maybe we can start a talk on that after the session, what you need exactly.
Okay, thank you. Then another question, is the co-working space and lab free of cost? And secondly, do companies need to move to Leipzig? I mean, move to Leipzig start away.
Okay.
I think
first,
this is for the program,
yeah,
for the accelerator program directly.
For the accelerator program, all the services we offer are free of charge. So including the lab space and the office space, or the use of the equipment. We don't force you to relocate to Leipzig, but of course it would be great to see you from time to time, since we learned through the ongoing program that we have for the cardiology accelerator that virtual support of companies is quite a difficult task. So it's helpful and also mandatory for you to be here from time to time. If you want to settle in the region, we are there to help you and assist you with that. Also, Axel and Barbara are there for you. And as I said, let's talk about that in detail if you want to a little later.
Okay, thank you. I think we should move on in our program. And our next speaker is Benedikt Rehab. He is the CEO of eCovery. Benedikt, would be great if you would give us your presentation right now.
For sure. Let me check and share my screen. Here we go. I hope everybody can hear me. And not sure if you can see me. So now the host stopped me from sharing my video. So I'm sharing my presentation. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. And what I'm going to talk about is basically the time you spend at home, which everybody has been doing the last days and weeks anyway, and especially doing your medical treatments and your rehabilitation exercises at home. So that's one of the quote that you see here is from Jason Silvernagel, and he did it on a medical convention, and he said basically the idea is that what you do with your patients as a therapist or as a doctor is by far less important than what you actually should do at home. And basically that brings us to the problem that I'll talk about and that eCovery tries to solve. First of all, eCovery is a startup. We're based in Leipzig. We're part of the spin lab that actually has been mentioned a couple of times today. So we are sitting in the accelerator, and what you can see here on the next slide is the founders. So my two colleagues and partners, Marcus and Alex, and me, the man in the middle. We founded Pioneer Communications and eCovery, and we're focusing on this problem. If you have a problem or like an accident or a knee injury, and you get a surgery, for example, or even you don't, and you go to the therapist, you get some exercises. And then if you're lucky, you get a little paper sheet with some of the exercises for your home training, for your rehab at home. And then the next days you're left alone at home. And actually the question marks get bigger and bigger, and you are actually not sure what you should do. Also, after the pain is gone, you're actually or usually not as motivated as you could be. And so that leads to a problem that your exercises will not be as sufficient or as efficient as possible. And that will lead to typical problems like the rehab process is longer than expected, or else you have another injury because you're actually not doing your you haven't been doing your homework. So that's why we delivered and tried to invent a new way of training at home. That is eCovery, consisting of three things. The one thing is the therapy app, like an app with medically proven exercises for your home training, individualized and tailor-made to the actual injury that you have, starting with knee problems. We also cover pain questions after each exercise. So we also document whatever you do in the app, so you have a proper training plan and a proper training documentation. We have an algorithm behind it that actually starts learning from day one and delivers a highly educated update and upgrade of your training program. So whenever you think that the exercises are not tough enough, or you have pain with a certain exercise, the program changes itself. And the third thing is movement sensors that give you an insight on or a live feedback on your training. So you actually have a physiotherapist standing next to you virtually to guide you through your exercises at home. That is what we do, and this is suitable for the couch potatoes on the one hand, and also the very motivated ones on the other hand, because both of them need to be guided through their home training. So both types are covered by eCovery. Our target group is pretty much everybody who's suffering from joint problems. As I said, starting with the knee, later on also other joints, and starting in Germany, but also, and that's why we're here, by the way, going into Europe and also beyond Europe. And also we are starting right now with problems and injuries, but also we would like to focus on prevention later on. So in a nutshell, patients love us because we give the guidance that they need. We also help to motivate because we are on the smartphone. It is safe to train with us because we have medically proven insights or programs, and we also help to document. That brings us to the insurances and also like the healthcare professionals, because in the end we will help to reduce the costs and also to create positive customer experiences, because actually, as I said, one day in the training center, 7 days or 6 days at home, we would like to change and support and optimize these 6 days at home. So basically, that's the main reason why we think that this business model is suitable. Another one that is coming up next, will be the next level, is that our AI-based solution will support us to really optimize the therapy itself, because we will be learning from all the patients that are in the app, what helps, what is suitable, which outcome and which exercise helps to really support the health and the well-being. And we will put all these insights from each patient back to the whole group of patients. So basically we will have more insights than anybody else on the way people train and do their exercises in the rehab process at home. Yeah, the business model is a B2B2C, so people get the money back from their insurance. We have been convincing a couple of people from this idea. So the first financing round is closed. So we are, how could I say it, Andre, we are ready to apply for the accelerator, because the first financing round is done right now. So next year we will be back in doing a second financing round.
You are welcome.
Be sure, we will apply. So the proof of principle is the next step. So we have a couple of partners like the university clinics and also an association of physiotherapists and also the AOK, which is one of the biggest health insurance in Saxony and Thuringia, to do the proof of principle and to make sure that the whole solution works in clinics and also for patients that just want to try the solution at home. Us as a startup, we started 2017. Basically, we founded in 2019. Before that was just a project. We got a couple of public grants. We also got accepted at the accelerator, the Spin Lab, as I said, and also got a public funding, which is called Exist. And this year, as I just mentioned, we got the first financing round, 500,000, and also another additional funding of almost 0.8 million. So that's our funding right now, and that will help us to deliver a medical device and a fully working and highly efficient product by the end of 2020. that's the outlook. So starting with the therapy app, and then moving forward within the product, more apps, more sophisticated apps, and also the AI-based physiotherapist for the pocket, but also internationalization and additional joints are possibilities to grow. And we are ready to find and start with partnerships in order to elaborate and evaluate these possibilities also in other countries. That's it. I'll go through this one. We have a couple of network partners, and this is our team, consisting of a surgeon, physiotherapists, AI specialists, machine learning developers, sports sciences, and basically that is. So if you have any questions right now, let me know. I'm happy to help.
All right, thank you, Benedict. Good stuff. Just to give you the feedback from the audience, so Yvonne is asking if you could put up the business model slide again, please.
Sure thing. Any questions, any additional ones on that?
Yeah, also, is this registered as a medical app?
It will be in October. So we are working with we have an internal and an external quality assurance that helps us that guides us through the process, and we will be registered by the 1st of October.
All right.
And this is like the first thing here for the business model. So we start with a knee arthrosis, which is one, we have 7.5 million codes, like cases that come to a doctor and say that they have a problem here. And this means 1.3 million insured people have this problem every year. And that's the first indication we're targeting.
All right, follow-up question. Can you please re-show the financial upward graph again?
I wonder why, but here it is. Basically, and as I see, the green line is missing here, but that's not important. Like, just to understand what's shown here, the two peaks are basically the costs of massive sensor shopping. So we need to get the hardware, and we will use these. We will buy big chunks of the sensors. So that's why we have these two extreme peaks in terms of sensor costs that will be reimbursed after a while, right?
Okay. And now Yvonne is asking for this slide with the green arrow.
The green arrow.
Yeah.
Here you go. This is
right.
the green arrow, I think. I'm sorry, this one was stored as or saved as a picture, and I was not capable of translating it. That's why. So here we go. So we start with the therapy app. Next thing is we'll grow in a couple of other joints like the hip and the ankle, and also start internationalization. In 2022, we will have very, very accurate sensors. Hopefully we'll have sensors beforehand, but in 2020, we will have sensors that really like give us high quality insights on each movement that the patients do at home. And just to imagine that the question will be then, right now it's a total black box. People don't know nobody knows what people do at home. So basically they tell you what they have been doing, but you don't even know whether it's right, or and you don't, at least you don't know anything about the quality. So later on we'll actually see what you do every day and what is the outcome or the effect on your rehabilitation process. And that's a massive optimization of the rehab process. Which leads us to number 4. In 2023, we would like to have some sort of a platform for healthcare professionals and also patients, and also bring them together in order to exchange the insights and make the whole process and the whole rehab process better.
Brilliant. Benedict, before we hand over to Yannis, allow me one more question. I mean, it's safe to say that by now you've become an accomplished CEO and also serial founder. So, and given your ambitious internationalization plans and growth plans, let me just ask, why did you choose Leipzig in the first place to set up this new business? I mean, you could have easily gone to Berlin, which is just an hour 15 away. So why Leipzig then?
Okay, so like first of all, I'm Leipzig based, so sometimes the simplest answer on these questions is you just start where you are, but also the possibilities to grow and to experiment are pretty awesome here in Leipzig. So we had all these partners. So when I go back to the partnerships, we had a lot of people that pushed us. We also had the possibility to use the accelerator options. In terms of financing, Berlin is quickly reachable in an hour. So we had a lot of talks in Berlin to get the financing. But in terms of experiments and space and partnerships, Leipzig and Saxony is the better choice from my point of view than this Shark Tank of Berlin, where everybody tries to stab anybody else during the financing and also the innovation process. So here we stick to each other and we try to help each other. We have a couple of similar e-health projects up and running that support us, and we support them because we are all in a big race in terms of the digitization of the health sector. And basically we will be successful, or they will, but it's not a question of slowing somebody else down, but also or more or less it's about accelerating together.
All right, brilliant. Thank you so much.
So hello everybody.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Okay, the sound is okay. Thank you. Yeah. So my name is Ronnie Kunert. I'm from the team Next 3D, which uses 3D printer for personalized surgery. Use a 3D printer for personalized surgery. That means that we want to support the surgeons that he can create implants or surgical guides, patient individual, to perform the surgery optimal. So we are based in Leipzig. We are of our startup research group and based on the University Leipzig in the Department of Neurosurgery. And on the right image, you can see our 3D print of the latest generation from Hewlett-Packard. Yes. And normally, every patient has a different anatomy, different sizes, ages, also weight. And normally, only standard procedures are mostly often performed. And with the help of the 3D printer, we want to provide patient individual solutions, so to give the surgeon the chance to perform optimal the surgery patient individually. So we are located in the Department of Neurosurgery. That means we have also a neurosurgical topic in the beginning, and this is the so-called stereotactic surgery. Stereotactic means that you plan a target point before the surgery, and the surgeons tries to reach the point very accurate during the surgery. And until now, there exist different techniques which were applied until now, or also nowadays. On the left side, you can see a standard stereotactic frame. So this is really heavy with 3 kilograms and fixed connected with the patient skull. Then there also exist navigation systems, but above all, only in high specialized hospitals, because they are very expensive and very complex in application. And then you have also the robots in some hospitals, but they are also very cost intensive and also very complex in application. And that's why we try to find a solution that we can create with the help of a 3D printer, a patient individual stereotactic device. On this slide, you can see the workflow of our system. So in the beginning, you have the marker placement. That means you have 3 small screws which are connected to the skull. And after you perform an MRI. This is also a difference to the conventional system because until now CT and an MRI is required. And, this is fusioned afterwards. And with the help of the MRI, the surgeon plans the target point inside of the MRI images. And this is the base for the CAD construction performed by the engineer. And as soon as we have the virtual CAD model, the real model is created with the 3D printer. And on the right side, you can see the final stereotactic device. And our aim is to apply it at a real patient this year in autumn. And we performed already a cadaver study very successfully. And that's why now we create all the QM documents which are required to create such patient individual devices. And on this slide, you can see the difference of the conventional stereotactic devices and the so-called Leipzig deep brain stimulation unit, because the stereotactic device can be used, for example, as biopsy. That means to remove tissue, and also for deep brain stimulation. And in this case, for deep brain stimulation, electrodes are located in the brain, for example, for Parkinson's disease. So used by the application of the electrodes. And here you can see the different weights of the system. So the conventional system up to 3 kilograms, and our system 3D printed only 200 grams. Also, the logistic is very important. So the conventional system is separated on different boxes, and we have only one box because this is also important for us that doesn't have. Another part is that we created surgical planning models from the patient. So in case of very complex surgeries, we segment the anatomical structures inside of the MRI and then create, with the help of the 3D printer, such colored models that you can see on the right side on the example on the pelvic model. And during the Corona pandemic, we were able to create, with the help of our 3D printer, within only 1 week, a prototype of a ventilator. And this is completely printed, the white parts you can see. And we only include an electronics with sensors that the ventilation volume can be adjusted, or and above all, the maximum pressure can be measured, and the system alerts you if the maximum values are reached. And on the right side, you can see a so-called lung phantom, because we are able to evaluate or to calibrate our ventilator with the help of such a lung phantom, which simulates the patient lung, and we can also adjust the different parameters to simulate a different kind of patients. And another example of the Corona pandemic was that we created within 24 hours special caps for the sterilization bottles, because the supply chain was so-called, and no other caps could be organized, and the sterilization fluid was then produced in the University Hospital in Leipzig, and we constructed the caps using the CT and afterwards CAD software, and so we could create the plastic caps for the sterilization bottles with the help of our 3D printer. So I'm at the end of the presentation. I hope you could see some examples what is possible with the application of 3D printers for patient individuals.
Do you see my screen now, and can you hear me?
Oh, yes, it works.
Okay, let's hope it stays like this. Shall I continue already, or are there more questions to the speaker before me?
So far, I did not see any questions in the chat. So Yanis, yeah, please start your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. I think my headphone died. Now I have a new headset. My name is Janis Reinelt, as already introduced. I'm a medical doctor and a neuroscientist, did my PhD in neuroscience in Leipzig. And since 2018, I'm working for iCura Medical. iCura Medical is a startup based in Berlin and Leipzig. And with iCura Medical, we want to unlock the power of medical data for the development of machine learning algorithms, and also provide a platform to healthcare professionals to use machine learning algorithms in their clinical workflow. And with this, let me just start. I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with the world and how it's changes due to AI, or what we call data-driven algorithms. Everybody had contacts already with, for example, email services that can automatically detect spam or autocomplete your emails. Google is on the forefront of that. Important and very impressive example how artificial intelligence or the use of data-driven algorithms already changed the world. But there are many more. Of course, it can also recommend the favorite songs you like to listen to, or guide you through a city. You can even brew beer with it, and that maybe also kind of alludes already to the hype that is around AI. And as we always say, when we talk to investors, we call it AI. When we talk to professionals, we call it machine learning. And machine learning and data-driven algorithms just recently, of course, also have the enormous potential to improve healthcare and how we fight, for example, crises like the COVID-19 crisis. But what is it actually that is so fascinating about the new methodologies of machine learning, and in particular deep learning? Because as I said, there's this huge hype around it. And I really like this picture because it gives kind of a structure and overview. What is AI? And actually, we as a company and most people that develop AI systems right now mainly focus on machine learning, and even more like a subdiscipline of deep learning. Why is deep learning so fascinating? In conventional machine learning, you can also train the machine to learn something from large amount of data, but you always need a human in the loop. You need a researcher, somebody, a domain expert that thinks about a problem that you want to solve, identifies certain features of that problem, and then teaches the machine to recognize and identify, learn these features. With the advent of deep learning, there's a paradigm shift in that, mainly that if you have large amounts of input data and the according labels to it, you can let the machine learn itself, and even find new features, new patterns within the data that humans are not capable of understanding, but the machine will find, given that it has large amounts of data and the right labels. And this is a paradigm shift, not just in identifying or differentiating between cats and dogs, but for example, finding new biomarkers of dementia in imaging methods. The advantages are that you have a very highly specialized machine, an algorithm that can process gigantic amounts of data that humans would never be able to. And as I said, due to this new approach of deep learning, you can find patterns in that data that are not recognized by humans. And this is, of course, very exciting for medicine, where the underlying features of a disease, for example, might not be known to humans, but the machine might find them, given that you have the large amounts of data. And that's, of course, one of the requirements and biggest challenges of machine learning today, is to get hold of these large amounts of data. Then you don't need just large amounts of it, but also high quality of that data. And this especially in a field like medicine, where this data is highly sensitive and not really easy to curate, possesses a large challenge. And of course, you need a lot of computing power and the underlying infrastructure to apply your machine learning methods to the data, because they're not just data hungry, but also very resource hungry. And a key point that is often underestimated is that also the users that should use these algorithms need to understand the technology at least a little bit, which I'm myself a medical doctor. I can tell you often in healthcare is not the case that doctors understand what they are doing with the technology they're using. But not just on the technical and medical side, data holds and data-driven algorithms hold big promises, but also on the business side. In Germany, this is not so much research, but data in healthcare is exploding. On the other hand, the economic value of that data is estimated to be insanely huge. And that connected with the third fact that Ernst & Young found out or did a research on, that, for example, for the US, there are 50 petabytes of data generated in hospitals per year, but less than 3% of this data is used. So these facts taken together shows that there's an enormous potential on the medical, but also on the economical value of data, but this potential is so far vastly unused. And where can you use these data-driven algorithms? We like to classify that in different pillars. One is business intelligence, where you optimize your workflows, the streamlining of a patient journey, or mine medical data to support, for example, billing processes. Then, of course, in medical research, finding new biomarkers, exploring new drugs for therapies, and then, of course, in medical decision-making and supporting medical experts to find the best treatment options for the patients. And this kind of three pillars also vary in their difficulty. So if you want to apply machine learning to business intelligence, this is possible already. Of course, the closer you get to medical decision-making, the higher the regulatory efforts get and the more complicated it gets. And if you now see these enormous potential of data-driven algorithms in healthcare, you could think that, you know, this is how it looks like in hospitals. The doctors are zapping through the medical data and the information of the patient, supported by intelligence algorithms are finding the best treatments for their patients. But if you actually look on what is really going on, especially in Germany, there was an important study in 2018 that the digitalization and the use of digital technology, especially in Germany, is very, very bad. There's another number that this is from the US, that 90% of innovations that could be implemented in the clinical routine are not implemented. So the question arises, why is that the case? And we focus on many things. We like to show it as a gap between, on the left hand, the algorithms that are already developed, and there are many, many companies having amazing algorithms. On the right hand, the users, the hospitals that would like to use these algorithms. And there's this last mile problem, or this gap between these two worlds, that have to do a lot with technology and regulations, but also, of course, with lacking data aggregation and that the data is stored in silos. And in our view, this last mile needs to be bridged by a technology that allows you to close this last mile problem, that provides computing resources for the algorithms that should be applied in hospitals, that harmonize it and integrate data, and that gives you also a framework for the regulatory approval. And this is what eCovery is focusing on. eCovery is the platform for bridging this gap between algorithm and the healthcare provider. We do this by using two core technologies. One is federated learning, and one is edge computing and local data integration. I go into detail what I mean by that. Federated learning is the idea that you don't centralize the data and run in algorithms on that centralized data, but you let the algorithm itself travel to where the data is stored, to all the different data silos. You learn locally on the data, and then when the algorithm has learned something, this model weights or whatever the algorithm learns gets centralized in a cloud system. This has a big advantage that you don't move the data around, but you move the algorithms around. And this, of course, is highly privacy preserving, but also has a lot of resource benefits. On the other hand, edge computing, what do we mean by this? When we apply our system or develop our system, within a hospital, we deploy our local appliance that is mostly running on high performance computing servers within, for example, a hospital. On this software, on this service, we integrate the data, we can structure the data, take the data out of the silos, harmonize the data, and then present the data to the algorithms that need to be run on that data. To make that more tangible, maybe certain use cases we were currently working on. One is length of stay prediction. So basically the idea is you take structured data, put it into a neural network, and then get an answer of most likely how long the patient will stay within a hospital, and you get an explanation that is specific to this one patient. What are the reasons? What are the underlying features that this patient will stay for this amount of time within a hospital? This, of course, gives the ability to controllers and hospital planners to optimize the resources and the use of the resources they have. We developed this business case, this use case, together with a strong partner that has access to 1/4 of the German hospital market, and currently we're rolling out and testing our MVP in 3 hospitals of this partner. Then another use case we're working on, since we do a lot of research collaboration projects. This one is with the Charité. It's a huge grant from the BMBF that we won last year. And here we are working on an algorithm that helps on the intensive care units to reduce the alarm rates. On intensive care units, you often have the problems that every 40 seconds there is an alarm. This leads to alarm fatigue of the medical personnel. And together with our strong partner Charité and Hasso-Plattner Institute and IDA-Lab, we are creating a system that reduces these alarms and fights alarm fatigue. And 2 more use cases. Another one that we developed together with Rhön is the use case of ECG analysis. Here the problem is similar to the IT intensive care unit use case. There is a large amount of ECG data generated by home monitors, and a medical professional needs to go through all these ECG signals. And we try to develop with our partner together an algorithm that pre-structures these ECG signals and marks specific regions that are important for the ECG and classifies the ECG itself. And then what we're also working on in a cooperation project with other startups is that we integrate our appliance within the radiology systems of a hospital, and then through our platform we apply and deploy algorithms that third parties develop, for example chest x-ray or brain segmentation algorithms, and can be used on the Akura marketplace. This is an overview of our team. There are many more joining us right now, and since we are growing quite fast, this is just an overview showing that we have the expertise in medicine, software engineering, but of course also machine learning. What we do and how we describe our strategies, use case driven platform development. As we create a platform, we can't identify and develop all the use cases ourselves. So we are highly interested in working together with clinical partners or startups or research institutions that would like to develop new use cases on our platform with our access to clinical partners and medical experts. And our current focuses are length of stay prediction, alarm reduction on the ICU, dementia classification, and then certain use cases in radiology and cardiology. And this is a quote I always like to show on my slides because for me as a medical expert, this is a very true statement that, you know, artificial intelligence will not replace everybody and everything, but will be a very important tool in the next years that people should learn how to use and should use. Otherwise, they might lose their job. And with this, I'd like to close. Sorry again for the delay.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Yannis. And thanks for, you know, being persistent and still delivering your presentation despite your technical issues.
Of course.
Of course, that stuff has to happen during a live seminar, so no worries at all. Yeah, as I don't see any more questions and being conscious of time, I'd like to wrap up at this point. Just to let everyone know, we will make available all the speakers' presentations of today within the next 48 hours. Also, I'd like to repeat that this is the first in a series of virtual seminars we plan to do. The next one will be about, crossover medical innovation. And if you like us to, we will keep you posted on the dates and times for the next webinars. So let me thank you to all of you who took the time to tune in today. Also, all my thanks to our speakers who I think did an excellent job today in, giving a little snapshot about what the state of Saxony and Leipzig in particular has to offer in terms of, smart medical device innovation. Also, I'd like to thank Don't Panic Events for organizing this little event, and that leaves me with have a nice day and let's stay in touch.
Exactly. Thank you also from my side. Bye.